On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will look towards the future of Star Wars animated projects and what series may come next. Will it be clones again, Force users set during the sequel era? Tune in to see where they think the Star Wars cartoon verse is headed. They'll also riff on a new Mando and Grogu rumor and some movement on the Rey film. Of course, they'll end the show with the question of the week responses and the latest round of Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie. Hey, now, our boy. Welcome back to the Star Wars Time Show. It's Matt and Nick starting the show at the same time for the first time in eons. It's good to have you to start off the show, Nick. No bullshit. I can actually hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can they hear
you?
I
can hear. We can all hear. Everybody hears everybody, hopefully.
What's going on? Woo. All right.
Yeah.
Well, here's our new time. And of course, we were 6 minutes late. Shouldn't surprise anybody that has been a fan of the SWTS. If you're new here, that's kind of how we roll. We respect our fans. We're not trying to waste your time. We're just two dumb idiots that take way too long to get started sometimes. Even when we gave ourselves an extra 30 minutes to start. And that's my fault. I was like, oh, extra 30 minutes? That means I can, be lost in Matland, which meant I'm going to try to practice the guitar for a little longer than I should. Trying to learn that riff from Pink Floyd's Money, don't, boom, 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 and my little stubby fingers were struggling. So, I don't know. You ever play an instrument?
I played some guitar when I was in my teens, but I never, I learned a couple of songs. I learned Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes, which is the easiest guitar song to learn at that time.
I can do that one, yeah.
And then I learned, pieces of other songs. I learned pieces of some Linkin Park songs. I learned pieces of some Shine Down songs at that time as well.
Okay, so you understand the challenge that this fucking thing presents to a human, especially if you don't actually go and have a professional try to help you and just idiots on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's kind of what I was doing. I was literally just I didn't take lessons. I had a guitar and I was just trying to teach myself from tabs, which is really difficult. Especially back then when you didn't have play along stuff like you have now, just looking at a tab sheet and then trying to play what's on the tab sheet with no knowledge of guitar is actually pretty difficult.
Wait, I mean, I don't read music, but even reading tabs takes a little bit of skill to know which fret on which string, and then you got to get the tempo down. Listen, I love it. I do think I'm probably destroying myself by not seeking out professional advice because I'm pretty sure I've developed carpal tunnel in my left wrist trying to wrap it around the neck. Because I got stubby hands and you got to curl those fingers so you're not muting other strings, especially on chords. And I don't know, it just doesn't fucking work, man.
You need I know they make this is if you we're really hardcore into it, but I know that some standard guitars have thicker necks than other ones, and they have guitars that have thinner necks that are
you're right. I mean, dude, my guitar's probably I got this idea in my 20s, but I was a lazy piece of shit and I was working in corporate America, so I didn't really have the free time, and I left it for almost 20 years. But yeah, I bought an Alvarez because it looked like Dave Matthews black guitar. I mean, I didn't know if it was good or not. It sounds good, but you are right. It's got the body's probably a little thicker than I need for my little tiny frame, and the action is very tight. When I play my electric, I feel like I'm a little more competent at moving around the fretboard. So, yeah, I don't know. It's fun shit. Listen, I'm 44. I've been doing it about 9-10 months now. I do about 30 minutes minimum, try to every day. It's very frustrating, but also very rewarding. And who knows, maybe in 10, 20 years, I'll be able to play a full song on beginner. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, dude. We got, we're out of Skeleton Crew. Boo-hoo. Kind of sucks. And who knows, we'll get a season 2. I actually wanted to kind of do some shameless self-promotion, Nick, if you'll allow me. But last week, remember, Nick and I were kind of spitballing on, hey, if Skeleton Crew got a second season, what would that look like? And I was teasing that I was working on a long-form video to really drill into some of the avenues we thought the story could kind of flow into. And it was kind of a test, Nick. I wanted to see if the juice was gone for sure, if YouTube put us back in timeout, and to see if we could get any more legs on the Skeleton Crew bandwagon that we got over the past 7 or 8 weeks. And I failed miserably. The video basically was DOA. I mean, like 200 views even a week later. So YouTube, it's clear. I mean, YouTube literally just goes, hey, you know what? Star Wars time. Boop. That's enough for you. That's enough interaction. That's enough new subs. That's enough views. You're going back into YouTube Star Wars algorithm purgatory, which is, it's defeating, Nick. And, the people are like, hey, if you like making the content, it doesn't matter. I'm like, no, it does fucking matter. I do like making the content, but I also like people seeing the shit I make. You know what I mean? And I have no real control over what YouTube does with it once it leaves. So I don't like that. I don't enjoy that. And it is going to probably prevent me from making more content, which sucks because I do think some of the videos we were putting out for Skeleton Crew were, I'm not going to say they're fairly well done for some dumb idiot in his basement. So fuck you, YouTube. For only showing it to less than 10% of our total followers. And not to all of you, but you know what? Fuck everyone else for not engaging with it. Okay? So, thank you. All right, we're back to this type of Matt. It didn't take long, did it? Did it? See this, Nick? The Ohio State University. I'm not even wearing Star Wars today. I'm boycotting this motherfucker because YouTube has stuck its dick right back up my ass. Keep pushing, dude. I've been pushing for fucking 16 years. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about anymore? My content either sucks
in
or
months when the new
Google
show
hates
comes
us.
out, people will start watching stuff.
Oh yeah, that's
like
cool. That's good.
Do.
Well, that'll free up some time to just go back to cutting up shorts that only a couple hundred people watch. So, all right, I've already sworn too much early in the video, so we're probably going to get penalized with monetization. So,
100%.
Sorry, Google gods. I didn't mean to do that.
Especially for yelling at the platform that we're streaming on. That's going to do well, too.
Hey.
We'll be lucky if we don't get banned.
Hey, Nick, this is America, right? First Amendment. We're free to do whatever we want, including getting rid of everything that helps poor people, whether you're white or black. I love it. Let's go. FAFO 2025. I'm loving it as bad as it sucks. All right. Before, you know what? Since you are here, we'll kind of get back to how we used to do some things. I would like people to go check out that breakdown, by the way, that I just bitched about. And yes, if you're on the live stream and you're seeing all these ads for WWE stuff, I'm back in it. Might have bought myself a championship belt for Ohio State. Nice. And securing some stuff for the young one. The little one, Charlie, is really getting into wrestling, and it's kind of cool because it gives us something to watch throughout the week. You got Raw on Monday, NXT Tuesday, SmackDown Friday. We got the Royal Rumble coming up. So it's good. I got to get her out to an event. Did you ever go to a wrestling event, Nick?
I did. I think it was the Road to WrestleMania one year came through New Orleans, and I went to that. It was super fun.
Yeah.
That was probably 20 years ago at this point.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, it was probably like in my early teens.
All right, we got a question here. I like this guy, CJ100. What you know about Darth Clitoris? Well, I know he's hard to please, hard to find, but when you do find him, he explodes in pleasure. How do you like that, CJ100? You can't stump us. All right, let's do, how about a little Ask Us Anything? We haven't been able to do this to kick a show off in a few weeks because young Nick is hard at work. So let's go ahead and get into that. We didn't get a ton of questions. If you want to get involved and ask us anything, make sure to look for the prompt on our Instagram, our YouTube community, our Discord, which is open. Check out the description of this video. I don't know, maybe it even goes out on Twitter. Who knows? I'm trying to really separate from that pile of shit. But it's hard when you try any avenue to promote your crappy work. So you just got to look for the prompt. Ask a question, and typically we'll answer it regardless if it's stupid or not, because we are supporters of the dumb over here. You know what I mean? So let's see what they had for us this week, Nick. Wasn't a ton.
Right. Because
engagement is dipping, that is for sure. But we got a few, and I dug out some old ones that we kind of were saving. One from a dude who's disappeared, and hopefully he's all right. Our buddy Michael Kramer is just like falling off the face of the earth, so I'm not sure what happened to him, but hopefully he's all right. All right, Nick, first up in Ask Us Anything, coming from Baron Black Series, and I know why he's asking this. What's the coolest promotional item you've ever gotten from a company? You saw mine this week.
I mean, the only promotional item I think I've ever gotten is the Manscaped stuff. So that would be it.
Yeah. See, I know what he's talking about. What Spencer did, apparently, Nick, Mountain Dew over the past year, if you collected bottle caps, you could redeem it for rewards all the way up to an Xbox Series X.
Nice.
And Spa badgered enough people at his work and online that he essentially cashed in, I think, like 9 gifts, one being a fucking console.
Pretty sick.
Nice. That's pretty nice, just for collecting caps and like, hey, don't throw that away. I'll take the cap. So for me, I can relate this way back when I was in Pittsburgh as a young thug. And my buddy and I, Tommy Pfeiffer, we got into this just shows you how straight and narrow we were not. We got into collecting I think they're called Marlboro Miles or Marlboro Points, where you'd have to take the points off a cigarette box and you could redeem it for shit. And what I saved up for, and I was so happy to get it because I'm a bit of a pyro, was the official Marlboro Zippo lighter.
Nice.
I tell you what, getting a Zippo when you're in middle school age and you like to light shit on fire was titties. You know what I mean?
It's pretty sick. Yeah. I also never did any of those, like, collect enough caps or whatever to get a thing. Like, I never did any of that.
No,
either.
you have to be dedicated. I don't think I could do it now, but like I said, when I was a kid, man, we would scour the park, the woods, trash cans around, baseball parks, diamonds. Get those Marlboro Miles or whatever they were called. It was fun. I think Camel did one too. Nice. There's probably a reason they don't do them anymore on cigarettes, because the kids were the ones like, yeah, let's collect cigarette trash and get cigarette promotional material. I feel bad for cigs. You know what? This regular cigs still exist, right? They're just really expensive now.
I mean, I assume, yeah, I think they do still exist. I haven't seen somebody that was smoking a regular cigarette
it's been a while.
Yeah, in a bit. So
that is probably one of the best woke policies we ever implemented, was no smoking in buildings. I mean, that is like,
yeah.
Some of you young people, I know we speak to an older audience, but you got to think like people like my daughter will never know what it's like to eat in a smoking or non-smoking section.
Yeah, it's the policy was literally like, just don't kill your neighbors. Yeah. Like, just if they don't want to smoke, they don't need to be smoking your exterior, like your extra smoke. Like, it's
me. I mean, even in college, we still had smoking sections. You roll up to a busy restaurant and be like, hey, fuck it, I'll take one for the team. Citizen smoking. I want to eat. I don't care. And you're sitting there like, I'm trying to eat your food, gagging.
I grew up with a grandparent that was a heavy smoker, and we spent like a lot of time during the summer over at my grandma's house. So
it's almost like a warm memory to you to smell that nicotine tailpipe shit then, huh?
Yeah. So I mean, and also like we had to clean her like every summer. Me and my cousins would do a deep clean of the house, and that included like scrubbing the walls, and you could just see when you're cleaning the walls, like the nicotine dripping off of the ceiling. It was just disgusting.
Yeah, that stuff's not in your lungs either. It just sticks to walls and ceilings, not your body.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I
not
mean,
at all.
Sir Dork's like, man, I'm in New York. There's people smoking. I think in Ohio, and being now a recreational type of state, I smell more of the ganj in public than nicotine. So
yeah, it's in Austin. It's a lot of like you smell a lot of weed, and then you also just see a lot of people smoking vapes and stuff. Like Austin definitely adopted the vape early. So
yeah, you don't vape nicotine, right?
No. The only thing that I inhale that is smokeless is marijuana.
Gotcha. Have you
if I'm gonna smoke anything, I want some sort of effect from it, and I don't think that nicotine gives.
Yeah, hey, dude, I'm with you 1,000%. Although I was the idiot that's like, oh, I'm not gonna smoke, but I'll stick the shit in my lips.
Oh yeah,
I love, dude. Chewing tobacco, love it. I have dreams of it to this day, and usually it's not great because I feel it just in my mouth, like, and I'm almost gagging to spit it out.
Yeah,
but I used to love to throw a lip in and just feel that shit burn my gums away. I mean, that was my favorite, was the burning, not so much the nicotine high, but the actual eroding of my gums.
Yeah, oof, that's right. I never did that for sure.
I'm a tough guy, dude. I played football. It got really bad with gaming. I mean, I remember when I was really into gaming, especially playing late night Gears of War, man. Oof.
The closest thing I ever got was sunflower seeds, and I would do I would just like take handfuls of sunflower seeds and shove them in my mouth. And while that isn't like bad for you in the same way that that dip is, the amount of salt that is in your mouth, it just started like eventually you start to get ulcers on like your cheeks or something
that,
like
or
that.
you give yourself hypertension. So don't worry, Star Wars Order. I quit chewing tobacco probably 14 years ago at this point. The other stuff, it comes from the earth and is not infused with poison like tobacco. So I'll do that until I die. All right, I kind of take offense to this next question, Nick, because they League only directed it to you. And I am also a Wheel of Time fan. Just because I don't read the books doesn't mean that I don't like the show. But since League has excluded me, I'm going to let you answer it. Are you excited for season 3 of Wheel of Time?
I am excited for season 3 of Wheel of Time. I'm probably a little bit more excited than Taylor because Taylor was a little bit disappointed in the direction that they took for season 2.
She's anti the TV version, right?
She is unhappy with it. She really liked season 1, was less of a fan of season 2. But I'm confident that season 3 is going to come back and give us some good stuff. I enjoy the story. Obviously there are some changes that have been made from the novels, but I feel like I'm looking forward to season 3. Obviously the way that Amazon has done it, it seems like they're like spacing out Rings of Power and Wheel of Time to where you never get one, or you never get both of them in 1 year. So 2025, I'm looking forward to Wheel of Time season 3.
Hey, B-Mad, good to have you back. We appreciate you. Thank you for that super chat. Nick, always, that's why we hired him. He's got those golden pipes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little better now. I'm still, I still have like a little bit of lingering congestion just because the weather in Austin has been so bad. But yeah, feeling better overall. So thanks, B-Man.
Minor AIDS. Speaking of Austin, and I don't know how much you partake, but is your access to porn at this point completely cut off because of the ID bans and whatnot?
I didn't even hear about that, but as far as I know, it's not. Okay. But it's also like, I guess it depends on like
Pornhub essentially will not let people watch their shit if they're in one of these states that have implemented the ID nonsense. So.
Oh, okay.
I've actually hit a few on the site. I go to like a very disturbing site. It's more like an aggregator. And I've even found some that get blocked in Ohio. So it's like, oh, cool. This is definitely what I thought was America was all about when I was a little kid. Yay!
Everybody just all you got to do is download a free VPN. People, right? But depend on where you are.
Like, why do we got to do that? If I want to watch some porn, I want to watch some porn. All right, who cares if I'm fucking 2 or 44? You know, what us kids that grew up without the internet, we had to walk, search around our house to find our dad's stash. Okay,
That's right.
All right, I was looking at shit
right.
way earlier than I should have because of my own father. So let's go, people. Grow up. Get religion out of politics, will you? Star Wars Order. I got a question for you guys. Who are Star Wars channels you guys watch? Nick watches no one.
I don't watch any.
Yeah, Nick, honestly, I need to get back to where Nick was because I've actually just made myself miserable checking in on other Star Wars people. I'd say the only one I would probably mention is Beyond the Dune Sea. Outside of that, I think we're better than everybody, and I don't really want to listen to their opinions because I'm a shitty type of person like that. So I'm just being real, all right?
It's not that
Nick's
I
different.
don't appreciate. It's not that I don't appreciate other content creators. Go for it. I just don't like. I do this podcast every week. I watch it. I play video games about it. Like I don't need. Like I'm just not gonna intake more content.
Yeah,
I
mean, like in all seriousness, some of it is just I'm a petty fuck, but a lot of it is it takes a lot of work to make one of these stupid shows. Even one show a week. I mean, I got to prep. I start prepping Monday, do shit on Tuesday, do the show Wednesday, post it Thursday, start clipping shorts Friday, rinse and repeat. So there's not a ton of time to fart around with some of the other shows. But if I do find time, I typically will check in on Connor and Seth, even though they're, I think, talking about Pirates of the Caribbean for the next few weeks, which, hey, it is what it is. There's always time for Star Wars time over here, if you know what I mean. Yeah, Divided came to us from Beyond the Dune Sea, but now she realizes that this is the better place to be. So we're glad you're here. All right, what do we got next? So League, you'll never know what I think about Wheel of Time because you excluded me. First time the white guy is being, I'm being, there's some prejudice going on here against me. All right, coming from Miss Divided Skywalker here.
Yep.
Oh, look, see, Divided, what the first Beyond the Dune Sea Divided listened to, I was the guest, and what happened? She came right over to our channel. So right there is an all-star, and that's why she gets the next question. What spice level do you get with your Indian food? Chili pepper, chili pepper, chili pepper.
So Taylor and I are a spicy duo. We really like spice. I will say that we don't do as much Indian food as we do like Thai food or other like East Asian dishes. But typically when we get anything that allows you to pick a spice level, we go with the high spice. In fact, there was one time there was a Caribbean food truck that we went to. And if you're like familiar with like Caribbean food, it can get pretty spicy. And being from New Orleans, I'm used to spice. So we went up there, we ordered jerk chicken, and they were like, it's spicy. And it, like it was a black woman who was working the truck. And I was like, yeah, I know. And then they looked over at Taylor.
They're like, this white boy can't handle this shit.
They're like, are you sure he can handle it? And she was like, yeah, trust me.
That's so good.
And like, I ate the whole thing, no problem. I was like, it could have been spicier. They didn't, but yeah, like we are spicy people. So we've done like the hot ones challenge with all of our friends where we bought the big pack of hot sauces and we bought like 100 wings and then we invited a bunch of friends over and we did the whole run of the gauntlet. And I ate every wing, and I was like, "This shit ain't even hot." Damn, I was the only one to not crack the whole time. Like there were people that were like sitting at my island crying. That like literally one of my friends like right across from me, just like we were on like wing 7, and he's just like tears are coming down his face. There are people like freaking the fuck out. Like somebody brought milk over. People were drinking milk. All the shit. I did the whole thing. And I did the whole run, and I didn't have any water, any milk. I was just like, bro.
Yeah, so you are genetically superior then. You got something in your mouth, like almost like a latex coating. Because I was going to ask, like, are you one of these nuts? It's like you enjoy where it's almost painful, and you actually you can still taste it through the hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just because of like the food that I ate when I was a kid. Like when you grow up in Louisiana, especially Southeast Louisiana, there's cayenne pepper in a lot of your food. So that's not super spicy, but like it gives you a good baseline. So when you get to a point where it's like cayenne pepper is just not spicy anymore, then you have like a level of spice tolerance that's relatively high.
Here we go. We got B-Mad was live streamed eating a Carolina Reaper and
That's
played
some
Warzone.
crazy.
It was terrible, but we won.
That's some crazy shit. Yeah, but say that's some crazy shit. Like I'm not one to like eat peppers by themselves, but like I enjoy it when it's mixed into food. Like we just cooked a dish a couple days ago and we had one of the Hot One sauces left over that was like 9 out of 10, and I just used that in the food.
That's like that's its Scoville rating was 9.
The Scoville rating on that one was like 650,000 or something like that. It was pretty high.
Yeah, listen, I'm like Nick. I don't really eat a ton of Indian food. I know there's a place around town. I don't not like it. It's just, you know me, I'm an idiot. Like if I can go get myself a burrito anywhere, I did Chipotle, Qdoba, a street meat cart. I love burritos. I'm a burrito freak. But I do like spice for sure. I think Nick probably has bigger balls than me on this. I can handle the spice. I wouldn't say I enjoy it. Like when I do a challenge, it's to test my manhood versus, yes, this is going to taste good. It sounds like Nick still derives some enjoyment, some flavor, some sort of taste experience when he's eating this like rocket fuel shit. I'm not so much into that anymore, but in my 20s, sure. It'd be like, yeah, I'll eat the atomic wings because I'm a tough guy. And I could get through it and not freak out and cry and throw up, but I wouldn't say I necessarily enjoyed the experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely understand that. It's not easy to really enjoy that stuff.
That's what I mean. It's a fucking test of your mental fortitude, dude.
Yeah, and really you like what you kind of learn is like how it interacts with the different types of food. Like there's some, like putting it on chicken wings is actually probably one of the worst things you can do because it doesn't absorb into anything and it just kind of sits raw, on that outside. Yeah. So like that one is like that's not the best way to do it. But if you put it on food that is like that can absorb the hot sauce and like the flavors like meld in well together, that's when it's more enjoyable.
Got you.
Yeah, that would be my, if you're trying to get into hot sauce, just don't put it on like, don't just pour a bunch of hot sauce on like a raw chicken wing. It's not the best.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I do love heat, but if it's just 1 ounce too much or 1 milliliter too much, it can ruin an entire meal. Like I love my Chipotle, I love their hot sauce, but you can't. Sometimes those idiots working the line, they'll take like the fucking soup ladle and dump it on your burrito and basically make it wet. It's like no. I want to taste the food, not just the hot sauce. And sometimes hot can dominate all the flavors you're looking to get. All right. This is a Star Wars show, by the way, people. We're just doing Ask Us Anything. If you're new here, welcome to the club. There's always time for Star Wars time. We do the live streams these days, Wednesday, 5:30 p. Eastern, as close as we can get. The show then gets ported over to podcast platforms, and more than likely, you're on one of them. So look for us. Give us a rating and review. We're working through a little Ask Us Anything from the community. Up next, we got Scion XTC. I know he's a big WWE guy. He's not asking about wrestling now, though, Nick. He's asking, will there ever be a time where there is no more new Star Wars? And just the last time we had this was between 2005 and 2008. So we had almost a 3-year gap before George shit out the Clone Wars movie. I remember that time period. I kind of was ready for a break. And but now we're in the new era of Disney where it does seem since at least 2015, Nick, we've had at least a movie or a show or two every single year for almost 10 years straight. So
yeah,
do you ever see going even a year with 0 Star Wars content?
Yeah. I mean, I think that they probably should at some point. Just in terms of like longevity and like preserving the brand integrity, to be completely honest.
Hey there,
I mean,
Mix of Clicks. Welcome to the show. Sorry, Nick, we got a noob joining in there. Remember, we saw them today on Instagram. I believe they made one of our feature reels. So good to see you. And then we got Cole Cowan coming in from over there, I think Scotland, I believe. Welcome.
Welcome. But I mean, like, here's my opinion. I'll take Star Wars every year until the day I die. But it really comes down to like when it comes to like protecting a brand, especially a brand that is like a franchise brand like this, you have to consider like small breaks to be a good thing every now and then, where like if you go a year with no content, all you're doing is you're just allowing people to build like anticipation and hype in their mind. And if you look at the period of time that was basically from when Disney bought it till when the sequel trilogy came out, like the buzz built to a huge degree where the first three movies that came out,
fever pitch, man.
Yeah, I mean, like even like regardless of the debate of the quality of the sequel trilogy, they all made over $1 billion. The first 4 movies they put out made over $1 billion, which is fucking crazy. And then you can just kind of see, like, and then the same thing happened with the TV series, where it's like you've never had live action Star Wars TV. The first one that comes out blows away all expectations of performance in terms of viewership. And then ever since that first season, what's happened? Viewership has declined. Every season that has come after Mandalorian season 1 has had less viewership than the one before. That's just how it goes. So at a certain point, in my opinion, for the longevity of the brand and just to like protect the brand integrity, there should be at least a 1-year break of no content. I think it would be healthy, and I think it would give people time to reflect, and it would give people time to appreciate the brand again. And I think that's kind of like we're getting to a point now to where people take the content for granted. And I think that even the parent brand, I think that Disney and Lucasfilm are starting to take the brand for granted a little bit. So I do think that there should be a period of time, probably within the next 5 years, where we don't have Star Wars for 1 year or something like that.
I mean, it may be coming up even sooner if you think about it. I mean, the TV pipeline is pretty much dry at this point in time. I think the only guaranteed outside of Andor coming up here in April is Ahsoka at some point, right? I mean, there's no other TV projects, so Nick, we may be getting it. I mean, we may get the Mando Grogu movie in 26, and then there's your break. That might be it. Because they're not going to make.
I think it would be
the Rey movie. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. That shit's not on schedule. That was supposed to be the December 26th Star Wars movie, and we talked a few months ago. That's already been moved. Like they booted the Star Wars movie from Disney's slate. So I think when I first saw this, I was like, no, probably not. But I honestly, 27 could be the year of no new live action Star Wars. Yeah, maybe they slide in one of these cartoons Nick and I are going to try to speak into existence today, but 27 could be the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a good spot to do it too, especially like if you're wrapping up your storytelling for Mandoverse. They don't seem to have much interest in a new animated series thus far, and if you want to give time between the Mandoverse ending and what would essentially be the relaunch of silver screen Star Wars proper, because I don't consider the Mandoverse movie like that's just a crossover between a bunch of TV shows. I know it's going to be on the big screen, but it's not something that was built and bred for the big screen. It's like it's a continuation or a finishing of a TV series. So like if they plan on relaunching silver screen Star Wars, like Star Wars that is built and bred for the movie theaters, I think that having at least a year off from the Disney Plus storytelling would be healthy.
Well, yeah, Imperial Activity's got a point here.
Yeah, maybe not 27 then.
Yeah.
That's true.
But where are they going to, unless they're going to reveal something in April at Celebration, maybe Ahsoka doesn't come out till 27. That seems ridiculous if they're going to try and shoot it this year, but I don't know. At this point in time, unless they've managed to keep something secret, which they kind of suck at, I'm going with 27 might be a dry year, 50th anniversary or not.
It may be like Mando and Grogu gets pushed to 26, and then the Mando crossover event happens in 27, like early 27, maybe something.
They better get like Nick. That. They need the second season of Ahsoka to air before they can do the crossover. Yeah. So I mean, maybe that comes out in 26. Maybe they do the Mandalorian and Grogu in 26. They do Ahsoka season 2 in 26, and then they do the final shebang. Mando Grogu, unless the world blows up or California secedes. is set for May 26th. So I think that's pretty much a guaranteed Mando Grogu. And now that is not the crossover movie. Remember, the crossover movie is something completely different. It's one that we've all been led to believe should kind of culminate, put an exclamation point on the Mandoverse show. So you would think Ahsoka S2 would have to drop before we got the crossover. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. But like, regardless, I do think that there should be a break. I mean, like, you know, Matt and I can talk about Lord of the Rings or talk about other properties.
We won't go anywhere.
Like
our idiot asses can talk about, like
paint we used
on
to
the wall.
do like Rings of Power. When Rings of Power was out, we would basically do a Rings of Power podcast before we started doing this podcast on the same live stream.
Yeah, that's when we were in the old 3 to 4 hour long show period, which those days are gone. So, Matt, I see you keep asking about the Respawn game. I don't think it's the other Jedi game. I think it's the one that's been talked about for a while that Respawn's been working. I don't think it's Jedi Order yet. I mean, we know that's coming. We know we're going to get the end of Cal Kestis' journey. I think Respawn, I think this is going to be a new IP, hopefully. And Bango, yeah, I mean, I know it might not look like it, but it takes a lot of effort to do this stupid live show and then produce the content for it. That's why when a show's in season, literally on a Wednesday, I'm pretty much working from 5 in the morning until 8 at night, nonstop. Like do a little Star Wars time, real life for 6-8 hours, back to Star Wars time, and it's just a cycle that keeps repeating. So I know it's really none of you can change anything, but YouTube does not share our content. It doesn't. For whatever reason, and it is what it is. I thought things might change a little bit when we added almost 600 new people. You'd think they would get our notifications when no, it doesn't matter. We're right back to why even put the effort into making long form. You know what I mean? Yeah, Star Wars Eclipse, that thing's buried. I mean, I think that trailer's 3 years old now. Remember that, Nick? That it was like a really fancy CG cinematic coming from that French studio. Dream. Yeah, that's gone.
I doubt that's gonna happen.
Yeah. We'll so wow, the chat's bumping up.
I mean, they
down.
also just killed, like, Ubisoft just killed Massive, which was the studio behind Outlaws, like, dead. They just shot it. They're like, we're shutting this fucking studio down.
Oh, really? So, Massive is gone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gone.
Oh boy.
And speaking of that, I did just start playing Outlaws. And here's my quick thought. I know that almost everybody here has already played it, and I'm way behind.
Hey, real quick, thank you to A Mix of Clicks and Star Wars Nerd Zero for becoming subscribers. We speak your name.
There we go. Yes, thank you. New
Holy shit! Is Star Wars? Oh, I thought Star Wars Nerd had one of our Vader cats. If so, wow, Star Wars Nerd might have became a channel member. Holy shit!
Yep.
Yo,
they just did.
Star Wars Nerd.
Thank you.
Whoop whoop whoop. All right, we speak your name.
But yeah, so like I've only played it for like an hour and a half or something like that. So not too far in.
I don't even think we finished Ask Us Anything yet.
Yeah, but anyway,
go ahead.
I'm just gonna give that while I was on it. I think the game, like the level design and the world aspect of it is good. I think the combat is just, it almost feels like they forgot about the combat when they were designing the game, and then they were like, shit, we got to put combat in this, and then like added it in. I feel like the stealth in that game is a joke. Like,
yeah, well, I know you didn't get to play it day one, but there's been multiple patches where they purposely like, yeah, you don't even have to do stealth anymore, essentially. So.
Yeah, because like I remember one of the first combat sections, I was like, they were like telling you how the stealth works. So I get into like a section of high grass where I'm supposed to be stealth. I whistle, somebody comes over. It gives me the prompt to like do a takedown on them, and it doesn't even do a takedown. It just hits them and then alerts everybody in the area. So I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Don't even try stealth. Like I eventually I would run into everything and be like blah 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 blah. I didn't even care. Sometimes I just back bodies into a room. Like they would come to a choke point like Leonidas in 300. I just be like and they just stack up.
Yeah, it's like I'm running through the mission area for like the very first one where you're on Canto Bight, and I'm just like, well, I guess the stealth doesn't even really work, right? Yeah. So I just start shooting everybody. Yeah. I just start killing people, and I was like, man, the combat in this game was just such an afterthought. I wish that they would have put more effort into it, because I feel like people enjoy the game for the open world Star Wars aspect of it, and like open world is like kind of a loose term to use. I don't feel like it's super open world, at least yet where I am, but like that's the best part of it. Like if they would have put any amount of effort into the combat, even if it was a pop and shoot system like fucking Gears of War, it would have been better. But God, did they just not care about the combat in that game? It's really fucked. But yeah, overall, not that bad.
Okay. I mean, look, the worlds are lived in. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you got into playing Sabacc yet. That's actually pretty fun, and now I know how to play it, and I wish I would play it in real life. I enjoyed the game. Thought it was a good story. I might return to it for some of the DLC, but right now I've kind of fallen out of gaming a bit. It's a lot of guitar stuff, and believe it or not, for the first time in probably 5 years, I don't have a single hot toy sitting next to me, Nick, which means I've done 2 photo shoots back to back the past 2 weeks, cleared my inventory. So I'm kind of back to editing some toy photography. I'm not sharing it, but I'm editing it and keeping it on my iPad and just looking at it by myself. So, but I feel like I need to get back into gaming. I want to finish Jedi Outcast. I would like to pick up the Indiana Jones game, maybe just do a Game Pass for a month and get it for $18. Check that out. I still need to go back and do the Crisis Core remake, because I'm a huge Final Fantasy VII universe type of guy, and I've had that sitting on the PS5 for a minute. So, all right. I think we have one more question, and this is probably just for Nick. Mike Kramer, we speak your name. Hopefully you're doing all right. Favorite Legends book, go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always the first book in the Darth Bane trilogy. And the 2 after that are also fantastic. But first book in the Darth Bane trilogy, I think, is one of the best Legends books out there. There's a lot of other good ones too. If you want like Jedi-centric storytelling, you can go into the Dark Nest trilogy, which is really good. That's New Jedi Order type of time period. And you get to like interact with Jaina and Jason Solo. You get to interact with Luke and all of your fan faves from the OT. If you want to go further back than that, they have the what's it called? The Legacy of the Force series, where Jason Solo falls to the dark side, becomes Darth Caedus. You get that storyline there. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. It depends on what you like. X-Wing series is also really good if you're looking for like a direct follow-up to the ROTJ, Return of the Jedi. Like that picks up pretty soon after the fall of the Empire. And the storytelling's good there. That's where you get introduced to Corran Horn, who eventually becomes finds out he's a Force user, finds a lightsaber, becomes
he got Jedi. A little cameo in the Kenobi series.
Yeah, there you go. So lots of good stuff out there, but if for me, first book of the Darth Bane trilogy.
Yeah, I'm useless with this type of shit. The only Legends I ever owned, I think, was the Truce at Bakura.
Truce at Bakura is the literal. That is the book that came directly after ROTJ, and it's the one where like basically what the story was at that time was, all right, we just finished off the Empire, and holy shit, there's an alien invasion coming. And it's like you get these SSI. It's like Searook was the name of the alien race. They were like almost dinosaurish.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm out. Like, I'm good.
Luke and all the folks had to fight them. Which is
wild. Like, and listen, I know we've started, or I've started this gimmick where I'm a brain dead idiot who can't read. And I don't read books. Like, I mean, it is kind of true, but I used to read the shit out of them. I mean, Tolkien, hell, I've read every word he's pretty much written, whether it's unfinished or not. I've read of his. Was huge into the early Halo novels. Loved the Halo novels. The Mass Effect books. I love those damn books. I mean, I obviously in the science fiction fantasy, but
yeah, the guy who wrote that is the guy who wrote the Darth Bane trilogy.
What's his name again?
Drew
Karpyshyn, right? Or Karpyshyn, Karpyshyn,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, he wrote the Bane trilogy. Fantastic author.
Well, yeah, you got Roy Smith all cracked out on the Bane and the Revan stuff. Like he took your words to heart But because he's borderline homeless, he has to rent them from like a service that takes 12 weeks to get.
Oh, jeez. Dude, you can't just go to the fucking library?
That's where he's renting it from. Library. That's where he's renting it from, the library.
Oh, okay. So he's doing like audiobooks through the library.
Yeah, he's not willing to kind of hoe himself out to make some scratch. I've been trying to get him on OnlyFans for a long time. Because he's got like one of those overly hairy bums that I think like the bear community would love.
There you go. You got to get on there. Get the money while you can.
Yeah, right now he's probably like, fuck, why do I join this stupid live stream? Hoopla. I don't know. Divide saying Hoopla. Is that a book rental service? Maybe people? Is that one out there? All right.
Not sure.
We'll ask DeepSeek about it. I love that. That was funny. It's like, hey, America, your hyper capitalism sucks. We can make shit cheaper and better than you.
Well, that's how China's always been.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, who knows how many people died to make DeepSeek, but hey, it's out, it's free, and it's better than chat. Which Joe Rojas? I'm a gay liberal and I hate myself. I don't want to suck peanut. Well, hey, Joe, we love you, bro. I'm not sure why you keep spamming that, so you're probably a bot, but just turn off Fox News because there's really nothing wrong with being gay and you shouldn't hate yourself, all right? How's that?
That's true.
Just stop tuning into far-right media and you'll realize that it's their problem, not yours, okay? If we have a wrench in here, though, we may need to silence Joe if he keeps spamming the channel, all right? Okay, well, that was a tipsy-turvy type of Ask Us Anything. We were all over the place on that one, but hey, if you're new here, welcome to the club. That's kind of how we roll. So let's get back to our planned topics real quick. I know Nick gave you his insights, his opinion on Star Wars Outlaws. I'm going to give you mine on Mark Wahlberg's flight risk. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, dude. Hey, listen, we all know here that I'm a movie buff. I actually saw something today that I'm glad I still go out and support the movies and watch that art form. And, you know, people like you reading books. Apparently for those of us that actually go out and experience art, it gives us empathy because we start to see, you know, stories of other people, of struggle, and you can start to relate better, put yourselves in people's shoes. So I am, even though I kind of sound like a hard-ass nut job here, I'm all about empathy, and that's why I'm a white guy that can relate to people that don't look like me. But anyways, I cannot relate with this piece of trash movie whatsoever. All right, flight risk, and here's what really chapped my tits at the end. Not only was it a terrible movie, terrible. Mm-hmm. Acting terrible, directing terrible, script terrible. It's just all around crap. I mean, I should have known this was going to be a horrific movie when they take Mark Wahlberg, who's like King Fitness. He's got all his hair. He's probably paid for hair plugs. And they decide to fucking just literally shave the top of his head and give him the clown male pattern baldness ring. Not even using a bald cap, Nick. So he had like so literally buzzed shaved head and then a hairpiece around it, like, you know, Bobo the Clown. And I sit through this whole thing and it's so terrible. And I see who directs it. And right there, I wanted to punch myself in the face because I vowed never to support this scumbag after it came out how big of an anti-Semitic racist he was in Mel Gibson. And that's what drives me nuts. I mean, the way the society is now, evil people are no longer punished or feel shame to live in holes. You can literally be a piece of shit on tape, on camera, treating someone like crap, and you still get to make movies.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mel Gibson. I mean, like, didn't he do the Passion of the Christ or something like that? I can't remember.
I mean, dude, fucking Braveheart. I can't watch it anymore because of him. Yeah, Apocalypto, Hacksaw Ridge, all great films. But yeah, he did the, you know, the weird passions thing, and you know, he's a devout Catholic that has some really wild opinions for a religious person.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I remember when you were telling me about this movie before. It's like. The Mark Wahlberg had a run in like the early 2010s, late 2000s, and it seems like after that he just kind of like he didn't get good roles or like he chose roles that were not great. But yeah, when I saw that this was a Mel Gibson movie, I was like, there's no way that I would go see that.
Yeah,
but it's just because his recent movies have sucked.
They're bad too. But I listen. This is a me thing. I'm not placing this on Nick or anyone else. But I got a hard time supporting someone like Mel. Just listen to the tapes of that man yelling at Jewish people and then threatening his girlfriend or baby mama. I mean, it's disgusting. He's a piece of shit. Listen to what he was saying on Rogan a week or two ago. I mean, he's fucking insane. Like, he's literally an insane guy. Not that I'm a big fan of Rogan either, but Jesus. I mean, Mel should just hang out in Hollywood and be quiet. But I have no clue what you're saying. Bat's saying Mark did it as an homage to bald heroes. He doesn't even fucking play a hero. I mean, he plays a fucking psycho scumbag. I mean, it's like, whatever. Don't go see Flight Risk. Don't even watch it when it hits streaming platforms. If you're like Joe Rojas and you like Mel, I guess go ahead and watch it. But the movie absolutely sucks. Okay, there's no way to redeem it. All right, so that's that.
Yeah, don't go see it.
I promoted my Skeleton Crew Longform. Go check that out. Got some theories there on what the show could be. So let's get into some of the newsy stuff before our special segment where Nick and I are going to look towards the future of animated Star Wars. We've got 6 potential series that could happen in the anime verse of Star Wars. But real quick, we like to trade in the rumor mill now that it has kind of Skeleton Crew is gone. Things are heating up.
Have dried up.
Yeah, more now that Mando and Grogu is wrapped, more leaks are coming out. Don Pablo doesn't like Gladiator 2. That's all right. But hey, you know what, Don Pablo? That's a great segue for this topic, though. Okay. Don Pablo doesn't like Gladiator 2, but hopefully they like Gladiators because it's sounding like we're going to get some gladiatorial action in the Mandalorian and Grogu film. This is coming from the dude over at Bespin Bulletin, pretty reliable chap. So we typically cover his stuff here. But he's got some insights on Mando and Grogu, in particular Rota the Hutt. Remember, he's going to be played by the bear guy, Jeremy Allen White. I'm usually too lazy to remember that, but luckily I did today. But according to Bespin Bulletin, Rota, we talked about this, Rota is going to be buff, right? He's not going to look like his dad, okay? He's not some slug. Okay. Apparently, he's going to be jacked. And the reason Rota is jacked, Nick, is he's a gladiator. That's right. It looks like he did spurn the family business, much like Sophia Falcone, and he decided to become a gladiator. Who knows? Maybe because he didn't get into the gangsterverse, his family sold him into gladiatordom. But according to Bespin Bulletin, the reason Rota is rough is because he is a pro gladiator. And it sounds like he's going to have a vibro blade, vibro sword as his weapon. So
I really don't know how, because like all this just sounds so made up. Like it, like
getting silly.
Yeah, like it just sounds so. I don't know if his leaker is just fucking with him. And like the leaker now knows that whatever he tells Bespin Bulletin, he's just going to print it. But honestly, this sounds like this movie, if it turns out to be exactly what what is being reported on here, this might be the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like and here's the thing. Is the previous report was that he got kidnapped again.
Well, he didn't know. That was his speculation addition. Maybe I didn't clarify that.
Okay.
He just knows that Rota is going to kind of be the prize that both Din and Grogu and Embo are after for whatever reason. But now we know that he's a gladiator. So what is do the Hutts want him gone? Does the New Republic want him? Yeah. So
like, is it like a hunt this guy down and kill him? And like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's just going to be weird to see a buff Hutt. Like, I mean, like, but the thing is, it's like, he's still a slug. Hutts don't have legs as far as we know. Like, unless they're just so fat that like all the fat covers their legs, but we've seen Jabba move, and he moves like a slug.
Right.
So I
maybe
guess
he'll be like on one of those
confused.
mechanical walkers that I've seen, like the High Republic era. You know, there's like some warrior huts.
Yeah,
but yeah,
dude.
maybe because he's maybe Jabba and the twins we saw in most huts, they're just a bad representation of the species. Maybe if you actually do take care of yourself, you can move.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, like I'm really not sure where this movie's going.
Yeah,
and like. Dude, I almost, like, out of all of the movies that have been canceled or canned or shelved by Disney, this sounds like one that really fucking needs to be.
Nope. It's a Dave and John project, bro. They're untouchable.
Yeah, and that's the fucking problem. Like, and look, none of this shit is confirmed. We haven't heard anything about this movie from official sources. This is all coming from
yeah, right. I mean, and these are little tidbits. This could be literally the opening mission, and we're sitting here, you know, having a conniption. So,
and that's kind of what I was speculating about last time we talked about this. Is like maybe this Rada storyline will only be like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and then it'll move into something that's like coherent and makes sense.
But you find out Rada is the key to the galaxy. Like he's the key to everything.
Yeah,
the New Republic needs him to win the battle against the rising First Order.
The way that this is sounding, though, it just sounds so fucking dumb. Like, it just sounds like
it's a who's who from Clone Wars being brought into live action. That's Dave's MO, man.
It's like it did, like, Dave and John, like, if this is all true, did they just like sit in a room and just do a bunch of acid and write this script? And then the problem is like, well, the guy who wrote it is the chief creative officer, so nobody can tell him no. Like, who's going to tell him no? Kathy?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
No, that's what I mean. You know, Imperial's coming in here. Yeah, Imperial, I know Bespin will not run something unless it's been vetted by at least 2 or 3 sources. So I'm saying this stuff is legit. We just don't know how it's all going to fit in and play into the overall plot of the movie. So,
or make any fucking sense at all.
Yeah.
Like, and any lick of sense. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but and I'm not like, I'm not shitting on Bespin Bulletin. He's just saying what they've heard.
Correct.
All I'm saying is this sounds awful.
It doesn't sound like it's really funneling towards a bigger story. Like, I mean, I think we all expected this movie should be the Rangers of the New Republic starring Din and Grogu, and they're actually executing important missions for the New Republic, but kind of sounds like they're slapdicking around doing bounty hunter shit that for no real galactic impact.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, maybe this is only a portion of it, and maybe they get into like some better storytelling. This can't be the whole thing.
I mean, we
right?
saw the sizzle reel. We know they end up on an icy type of planet and have a hell of an action sequence with AT-ATs and whatnot. So, who knows? And yeah, again, this is no knock on BB. We're just like him spitballing on what he's hearing, and so far it sounds a little wacky. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're trying to make an episode of the Clone Wars in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So
yeah, like that like the shitty episode of the Clone Wars that everybody's like,
like the 5-episode droid arc or something like that. You know what I mean? All right. So yeah, there's that. Row the Hutt, Gladiator. So we're gonna get some Gladiator action in Star Wars, which, hey, could be good, could be very odd. All right, this is one I really don't want us to spin our wheels on it, because sometimes we go down a rabbit hole on streaming numbers and what's what and what makes money and why stuff gets renewed. But we would be failures to not at least mention this and do a little bit of commentary. But last week, a report came out from Deadline reported on. I think it comes from Illuminate. They're one of these aggregators that monitor streaming and how many minutes are watched, so on and so forth. And basically, streaming franchises, the kind we like, you know, the Marvels, the Star Wars, the Rings of Power, they all underperformed in 2024. Sadly, Nick, I hate to even report this because this is ugly. I mean, Rings of Power was down 60% in total minutes watched.
Yeah, I mean, that's not super surprising.
From season 1. You know, Echo, Agatha all along, they all underperformed. But here's the nugget where it does kind of lead you to believe that Disney is more reactionary than we probably thought they even were. And they're not so concerned about what could actually generate them revenue. Out of all of the big IP franchises that were released last year on Disney Plus, The Acolyte came in second with 2.7 billion minutes watched. Number one, Percy Jackson and the Olympians at 3 billion minutes. Okay? Now, this is a show that people were telling you was god-awful. No one watched. It deserved to be canceled because it just no one was into it. This tells a completely different story, right, Nick? This tells us a lot of people fucking watched it. So,
yeah,
what is it,
more
Disney?
Than the Marvel shows.
Disney, is it watch minutes or is it critical reception? Is it social media reaction? Like where's Disney making their decisions? Because Nick, it's clearly not based on viewership.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it was a pretty popular show. If it was the second most watched show on your platform,
right? And we're not talking out of Star Wars. We're talking out of any IP Disney put out, Marvel, Percy, whatever. Acolyte was number 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things where it's like they don't seem to have a metric by which they choose that things are renewed or not.
No, so I really do. I think they read the tea leaves, and if social media is off, they're like, you know what, it's not worth it. Fuck it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like I said, here's the thing. It's like every Disney Plus Star Wars show that comes out has less viewership than the last one. Like, it's just, go look at it. It's just the truth. Like, so yeah, I don't know. Like, they need to either just kind of take a break from Star Wars live action TV and focus on movies, or find a metric by which they decide that things are going to be renewed. That's like consistent, I guess you would say. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Thrawn killed 5 billion less than me. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, it did less than.
But Mando,
we're not comparing Mando. Like, Mando is the gold standard. It's the one that kicked all this stuff off. So that. I mean, when you're comparing it to non-Star Wars shows, and it was still watched more than most non-Star Wars shows, that leads me to believe people liked it, or people were engaged with it. I was trying to find its overall Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, I know it got review bombs, so it's not it's not. But
yeah,
so
I mean,
fair.
like, that's the thing, is like you have two Marvel shows that released on it too, and they didn't crack the top. Like, they neither one of those was the top 2 or top 1. Percy Jackson, I mean, like, Taylor and I watched all of Percy Jackson. It was good. I mean, it was a show that was literally made, that, like, it was, based off of a book, based off of, like, there was a lot of previous stuff. It kind of put me to sleep here or
there. I mean, it is very kid centric.
Yeah,
like, I thought Percy Jackson was way more kid stupid than Skeleton Crew. Does that make sense? Like, that was a kid show driven by kids, and it felt like it was a kid show driven by kids.
Yeah, that was definitely more of like a kid-centric one for sure. So, all
right, so Acolyte came in at 78%, so not awful, but maybe that's led to it. It's weird. It's like, hey, if this is our second most watched show, 1 + 1 = 6. Let's cancel it. It's
who knows?
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah, listen, if you hate Acolyte, have at it. I'm sure you had your reasons. They may not be the best of reasons, but whatever, helps you sleep at night. We enjoyed it over here. It definitely had some issues early on. I think it had some banger episodes in the middle, especially with Kamir. And it had potential to give us some DP, not that type of DP, but some Plagueis. And that was exciting. But hey, it's gone. Probably never coming back. It is what it is. And those of you that revel in its cancellation, have at it. I really don't care. If that gets you happy, then you're missing something in life, I think. All right. So that's that. I like this. We're kicking right through these mugs. Here's our last one before we get into the fun stuff here. And this movie, I'm starting to lose hope on, Nick. We're talking about the Rey movie. It has now moved on to, technically, its 4th writer, if you think about it. It started with Damon Lindelof and his partner. Then it went to Scott DeKnight. And now it sounds like this George Nolfi has taken it on. I guess he did some Ocean's 12. I've never heard of him. The Bourne Ultimatum. Ocean's... Okay, he's worked on some of that stuff.
That's crazy that he worked on Bourne because...
Well, what's his name, right?
It's Tony Gilroy also worked on Bourne. So they're dipping into a well for sure. I mean, look, Ocean's 12 was a fun movie. I like the Ocean's franchise. I think that's pretty good. Bourne Ultimatum, I also enjoyed that. I enjoyed the entire...
He directed
Bourne
The
franchise.
Adjustment Bureau, if you remember that, with Blunt.
I haven't... Yeah, I have heard of that one, but I never saw it. Yeah, I mean...
He did The Banker and Elevation. So with it looks like he's worked with Anthony Mackie on 2 projects.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like he is a writer that definitely does more like action thrillers.
Yeah, that's what they're saying here in this article, Nick. Nolfi is known for writing elevated thrillers across a variety of genres and establishing strong relationships with his actors.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like, obviously... we don't know the direction or like the storyline that's going to be told there. So, hey.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those movies, unlike Mando and Grogu, that just seems to be stuck in a purgatory loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with this? I know that this is supposed to, like, this may be a movie that launches like a new, like, multi-film series. So we'll see where it goes from there. But it is weird. I mean, like, what this has also happened with other Star Wars projects. I mean, look at the Lando project. Like,
Nick, this actually Mando and Grogu is the exception in Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
that actually got put on film and made when they say they were going to do it, and they did it quick. These other ones,
well, yeah.
I mean, dude, we're still, the Rian Johnson trilogy was announced in 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Taika,
the reason that the Mando and
Rogue Squadron. I mean, come on. Like, it's just like, this is normal. So I still don't think this Rey movie is ever getting made. All right. So
yeah, it's hard to imagine. Like, it may be like a 2030 film at this point if it's got this much back and forth happening. But yeah, I mean, Mando and Grogu getting made is because it's John and Dave and they're in house. You know, that's the big difference between like having people who are like paid on staff by Lucasfilm working on something, and then you have outside writers that like you're bringing in to like, hey, write this film.
And one of them is literally a C-suiter. I mean, Filoni's chief creative officer, whatever that means these days. I guess creative is making ripped huts that are gladiators.
Yeah, I know. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, I mean.
Hey there, Anthony YouTube. Good to see you, bro. You're never late to the Star Wars Time Show. You're always welcome. You're in perfect time for the animated discussion. We're just about to get to it. Show. I can't read your name. I'm stupid. Welcome to the show. Yeah, we understand. Listen, we're not one of these shows that's going to tell you what you should like or why you shouldn't like something, okay? We'll speak our mind. You may not agree with it, but we are enlightened individuals that understand that opinions aren't facts and facts aren't opinions. So we're not here to shame anyone. We will shame people if you shame us, though, okay? And by we, I mean myself. Nick usually stays out of that shit. But if you say dumb stuff, I tend to address it. So, but welcome to the channel. We're glad you're here. Yeah, Rey movie has got like 9 writers at this point. It's already been moved from the December 26th slate. Who knows? All right, we'll leave it at that.
I mean, we'll see.
Let's get into some fun stuff here, okay? You know, we are in the doldrums of Star Wars time, which means, you know, Nick and I got to do a little more effort throughout the weeks to find something exciting for you all to talk about outside of hoping that random leaks and rumors. You know, Nick, that's all we used to do, and we still would do 4-hour shows somehow. I'm surprised we have any audience. I don't know how that was remotely entertaining to anybody. You know what I mean? So, but we kind of committed after Acolyte, really, that, you know what, screw that shit. We're not going to wait for stories to come to us. We're going to make our own content. So we really got into doing special topics week to week. And now that we're out of Skeleton Crew jizz, it's time to get back to some special topics. And this one, young Nick actually kicked the tires on last week during our post-game meeting. He's like, you know what? I feel like talking about some animated Star Wars. I was like, well, damn straight. If Nick's got a bug up his ass, we're going to run with it. So that's what we did. We came up with 6 animated Star Wars projects we'd like to see, and we think all of you would probably dig them as well. All right. So Nick and I, we aligned 100% on the one, and it's the one I would hope would get made, but it's probably the least likely to get made, and I think I saved that one for last. So we'll kind of start with the ones that may not be as exciting to Nick or some of you, but probably have a better chance of getting made because of how we know Dave and his animated tastes here. Of course, I got to refresh it. Why would anything ever work on the Star Wars Time show that requires, technical anything? There we go, people. All right, so number one here, and listen, I'm not completely shitting on this because I do feel like us fans are owed some form of resolution on the clones. But Nick, I have a complete The Clone Bros stories. And what I mean by the Clone Bros, I'm talking Cody, Echo, Rexy, and Wolf. All right?
Yeah.
I'm not including Gregor because they took care of him in the Bad Batch. We know how he got scooped up and, he joined Rex's underground. So it made sense why he ended up with Rex, fishing for shit on a desert planet as an old guy in Star Wars Rebels. But we got nothing on Wolf. I mean, he showed up in Bad Batch Season 3 and kind of gave Rex his time to get away, so you could tell he wasn't fully brainwashed like the other clones. But then he just disappears. We never see him join the Bad Batch or Rex and the freed clones, so we don't know how he ends up with Gregor and Rex. We don't know what the hell happens to Echo. We don't know what the hell happened to Cody outside of Rampart telling Crosshair that he left, he went AWOL. So as much as I know you in particular are done with the fucking clones, this one's got some potential, set after the Bad Batch, before Rebels, maybe a few years after Bad Batch, kind of showing these guys collecting up their bros and kind of how the clones truly sunset to the point where 3 of them retire on a desert planet.
Yeah, if they were gonna do this, I would just want it to be a short one, like probably 1 or 2 seasons to just close it out. I do think that like the clones obviously have their fandom, and I don't hate clones. I just think that like this era of Star Wars has been,
you're like, I'm good,
fucking drilled into the ground. Yeah, it's like it's so overplayed. So I do agree that there should be some sort of closure for these characters, and an animated like an animated miniseries I think would be a good way to do it. But I wouldn't want something like this to be like 5 seasons. Like
no way. This should be season, 2 seasons max, maybe just a season, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if they were able to do it to where it's like you can do it in an 18 episode season or something like that, I think that would be the perfect way to close it out. But I wouldn't want it to be more than like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Probably no more than 20 episodes. But yeah, it's just like it just felt weird to me. Like that 3rd season of Bad Batch felt so rushed. It never really gave you what you wanted in terms of like exploration of the clone storyline, which was what was presented to you. Like when that show was introduced, is like, oh, we're going to go into like clones post, Order 66. And once they decommissioned the clone program, and that's just like, it petered out in a way that felt really weird. So, I think that if there was like a short miniseries that closed out the clone storyline, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, like Bango's saying, give us 10 to 12 episodes, make them big boy length, more than 22 minutes, at least 30 to 40, and we good to go. Hey, real quick, I saw the chat got really excited with this, and they're like, yeah, we want what ifs. Here's the deal. The way we approached this was not so much like, I know we have not had a Star Wars what if, but we have a Marvel what if. So we understand what that franchise could be. Yeah. And I promise you, at one point in time, Nick and I will do a special topic just on what ifs. We'll also do a special topic just on Tales of X, because to me, those are established franchises. What we're trying to do today, my friends, is come up with completely new IP, new animated series. All right. So love all the chatter in there, and we see your ideas. I think Star Wars What If is fantastic, but I actually want to dedicate a whole segment to that versus what we're doing today. So these are more like, hey, if they're going to start a new franchise, a new animated series, what would we like to see? All right. So yeah, we got the clones for sure. What's next? You know what? She's one herself, a little more special, might have some Force juice. But, you know, we could get a series following Omega in the Rebellion, hanging out with Luke, or hanging out with Leia even. Maybe it's even before Luke joins up. We don't really know when she left to join the Rebel Alliance in that epilogue there. But she's clearly a fleshed out character, an important character in the Star Wars universe. We know she's special. We know she's not just a regular type of person. And the fact that she chose to join the Rebel Alliance, you know, could open up some interesting stories with Omega. And I always liked Omega. I thought she was a pretty well-written, fleshed-out character. And I wouldn't mind picking back up with her now as a late teen, kind of doing what her dads were doing, but now for the Rebel Alliance.
I would absolutely hate if they made this. And it's not even the character of Omega. It's just like, you are now moving from an era, like, it's just like, it's a continuation of a bad show. It's just what it is. And like, and I'm like tired of that era. I'm just so tired of like the standard OT Rebellion era. It's like, there's so much content that's already there. And then what you have to do is like, okay, you already have an entire show that's told, that like an entire animated show that's happened in that era. And it's called Rebels. And she's in the Rebellion, and she's never shown up in that show. So what do? Do you bring characters from Rebels into that show? Do you just pretend that these characters who are functioning in the same space towards the same goal never interacted with each other? I mean, yeah, I guess it's a big galaxy, but it's a small rebellion. Like, you already have a story that's been told there, and that's been told really well in that era. And I feel like if you do a show that's just centered around Omega, it doesn't have juice. Like, there's just nothing there. It's like, what is she gonna do? Like, run a bunch of missions that we've already seen a bunch of other people run? Like, it's not something that I would.
She'll tell Leia about Rika.
Yeah, like,
and Hunter.
It's like, again, it's like, it's nothing to do with the character. It's just an overplayed time period.
Right. Hey, you know,
but that'll be the one that they make, because that's the one that fucking
there
Dave
you go,
wants.
Dude. You know it. Right there. If I just pitched this to Nick in the writers' room, he would have told me to shut the fuck up and sit down.
Yeah,
he would have said, "Do better." All right, okay. So no movement on the Omega series. Fair enough. I think there's potential outside of, you know, the tried and true Rebel Alliance type of tales, but you never know. Maybe her story should be left as is. All right, so let's see what he thinks about this one. I mean, they resurrected the motherfucker with the promise of, oh yeah, we'll explain why we did that. It wasn't just a cheap one-off for Dave and Bad Batch. But since she is around, we know what she's getting into. We know who she loves, and we know what he was into around this era. So I'm saying, what about an Asajj and Quinlan Vos Hidden Path series?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be something that is enjoyable. The Hidden Path was introduced to us through the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and it gives you some storytelling in that era that we haven't explored before. Like, how, you know, now that we know that there were a shitload of Jedi that survived Order 66, how did they survive? Like, give us some information on that. Quinlan Vos is a character that we are already familiar with. Asajj Ventress is a character that we're already familiar with. And if they choose to do that, I think that would be a good way to build an area of that timeline that hasn't been explored, and give more context into the justifiable questions that people have around, like, okay, if Order 66 was supposed to have, like, had this massive effect, so much so that, like, we have an era, like, the entire OT is built around there being no fucking Jedi anywhere. Why are there so many fucking Jedi everywhere? I think that a show like this would really do well to explain that. So yeah,
and a lot of the stuff is already established in canon. I mean, the Hidden Path with Quinlan involved is literally in the Kenobi series. I mean, if you remember, what's O'Shea Jackson's character, was his name Roken or something like that? I mean, he could be involved. He would be a character in this series because that's who they worked with on that planet. They essentially, it was an underground railroad for Force users. So there's a ton of potential. There's already a bunch of established canon for the characters doing this. I mean, these two are a bonded pair. They are lovers. Okay, I mean, they still need to explain how Asajj was resurrected. Yeah, it's on Dathomir and that planet's all, freaky deaky, but she kind of, from what I know, I don't read, but from what I know, it seemed like it was a good earned death and she probably should have just stayed dead. So if you're going to bring her back, why? Hopefully it's not just for that one shot in Bad Batch just to see if fucking Omega had the Force or not, right?
Dude, that's the thing because they even said like, oh, we brought her back.
We promise. I haven't seen even a comic book mention.
Yeah, and look, maybe this is what they're developing, and they just haven't announced anything. They're waiting until Celebration to do it. But at this point, it's feeling weird why they brought her back.
Yeah. Just to remind everyone, Bad Batch season 3 is almost a year old already. Like that's how fast time is moving. I mean, it's almost a year since we saw Asajj return. I'm not kidding. Look it up.
Yeah.
So I think this series has a ton of potential. Based on the chat here, it looks like they would have been big fans of this, which means it's not going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We've learned here, as much as I love Dave and thought he was kind of the guy, it doesn't so much seem like he understands the Star Wars universe and what can please fans while also honoring George's lore and content.
What we've learned about Dave since Dave has been in control is Dave likes to play with his own toys. Like that's what Dave likes to do. Like the stuff that Dave made himself is what Dave likes doing the most. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, you know why Embo's in the movie, right? He voiced the character, so he's going to get a credit. He's going to get a Star Wars character credit.
And look, like that's how creators work. Like, like if you're a person who like creates a character, writes a character, builds the story behind it, like you want to keep playing with those. But it's also like when you're the chief creative officer of a brand that's as large as Star Wars, you have to empower creators that are building stories outside of the ones that you have directly interacted with.
No, he sabotages. He's like, yeah, Leslie, put that Kiadi scene in there. That'll go over real well.
yeah. But it doesn't seem like Dave is the best at doing that. So yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Hey Dave, we're making a Star Wars show about space pirates, and we're thinking about just a real cheap Hondo Naka cameo. No,
can't do that.
He would take away all the focus and dominate. It was like, no, we literally just want him sitting at the fucking cantina.
Yeah, he's just at the bar.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be a scene. You might just hear him talking or laughing, and fans would be like, oh my God, that's him. No, it would break canon. It wouldn't make sense. No one would love Fern in the end if Hondo was in Skeleton Crew. It's like, okay, all right, I guess. So yeah, I think this one's got some heat to it. Even though it's in that time period that has been covered before, it would focus on a branch of that timeline that it really has had zero focus outside of a quick mention and a look at some cave etchings in the Kenobi series. All right, up next, and don't throw stuff at us, okay? High Republic era animated series, pre-Acolyte. Hell, you could even say it's following a younger Vernestra Rowe if we want to make that connection, because maybe you could tell the tale about her and her Padawan Kamir. Where'd that get squirrely? Or you could see how she was influenced to become a 130-year-old Jedi Master to make very sketchy choices that she made in the Acolyte, actively hiding stuff from the Order. You could inform people more on the High Republic era, the Jedi, how they interacted, and really, for me, it's a selfish way to try to get Kamir back into the universe and learn even an iota more about him.
Yeah, I would appreciate a show like this, and like, I think that with the High Republic, it's a new era. There is a ton of free and open storytelling opportunities there, whether it be exploring the Nihil more, which have been introduced to us through the novels. exploring the Great Works more, which has been introduced to us through Skeleton Crew, exploring that era of the Jedi and their like seeing their hubris grow as we did through the Acolyte, and then the rise of the darkness throughout the galaxy. There's a lot that happens in the High Republic era that is open and ready for storytelling. So I think that like, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be around any of the characters that were even introduced to us through the Acolyte. You can create new characters that won't interact with any of the characters that we've seen before. There's so many avenues that you can go down with it. Even if you wanted to tell the rise of the dark side through the High Republic era and lead up into, you know, the rise of Sheev Palpatine in the Grand Republic era, there's a lot of stuff that can happen there. So I think that a show that's set in that era has so many different directions it can go, and so many different storytelling avenues that would inform the prequel era and be really good for storytelling overall. I mean, that's my thought on High Republic. I know that people just hate it immediately, or there's a lot of people out there who now hate that time period because of the Acolyte. But it's just weird.
And the Acolyte is honestly, it's like High Republic light. I mean, it's basically at the end of it. I mean, the High Republic bit is essentially about the transition and just to the Galactic Republic. So yeah, we got Bango. Bango, he's out there tipping some back. Some people in here are like, we love High Republic. Bango's like the High Republic below.
I mean, I'm still reading The Light of the Jedi, which is the first book of the High Republic. So I haven't gotten very far into it. I will say that the book is slower than I would like it to be at certain points. Like it really does kind of slow down. It's an introduction to an era book, so I know that it's not going to have all the action in it, right up front. And I'm hoping that the Rising Storm moves a little bit quicker.
He's screaming in the chat. Only goes downhill.
Only goes downhill. I mean, so we'll see. We'll see. I mean, look, there's a lot of, but all I will say is that if we've learned anything from Star Wars, books that are written about a certain era have almost nothing to do with moving pictures that have to do with that certain era. So,
yeah, it's why rely on existing canon when we just make shit up that's going to piss people off, right?
Yeah.
I want to address Trenton here. Maybe they're behind. They're saying there's something wrong with you if you want the Acolyte canceled. Wow, that's pretty close-minded. I don't think we've ever said that on this show. Maybe that's just a general statement that he's talking about, people that were actively trying to cancel Acolyte, and it seems they're the ones that actually got it canceled, considering it was watched a lot of times. But that's not us here, Trent. So maybe you caught like a random sentence, but we have never actively tried to cancel anything Star Wars, if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, we lobby for second seasons for every show. I don't think that there should be a Star Wars show made that doesn't have at minimum 2 seasons. Like you can't tell a story in 1 season. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think that High Republic is a area that should be explored more with storytelling, if only to inform further the story that we see in the prequel era. So
yeah, sure. Yeah. And I know we have the Young Jedi Adventures, but I mean, they truly are meant for kids. Yeah, meant for kids. So it can exist. There is animated High Republic. It does look different. You can go in different ways because, I mean, yeah, you got to remember, High Republic, the galaxy was not what we know it is when we meet it for the first time in the OT or the prequels, whatever. I mean, it is kind of Wild West-ish, and the Jedi were essentially the frontiersmen, the cowboys going out there trying to open up the trade routes, keep things safe, get the hyperspace lanes going. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff that you could get in that wouldn't just be galactic politics, kind of like we're used to, or bad guy versus good guys. It would be more specific, more faction-based. The Drangir, the Nihil. So yeah, hey, listen, will it happen? Probably not, and it's probably the suits. They're going, oh man, we tried some High Republic stuff. No, ain't doing it. All right, next one. We got one more before I think we get to the doozy, the one that I think a lot of people would pop chubs on or get some THO. But since we just kind of spent some time with them and they are kind of fun and I'd like to spend more time with them, why not do an animated series on space pirates? Okay. Well, we got a little dabble of it in the Clone Wars with Hondo and his gang. But, you know, let's see an animated Brutus, animated Silvo, animated Vane. You know, let's see what these guys get into and make it all pirate focused. Like, I want it through their point of view. Okay? I don't want the pirates, they're just going to be the bad. No, I want the pirates to be the leads. I want to see what that life is like. What deeper in the Port Borgo is like. What other bases do they have? You know, so I think there's potential here. Not as high as some of the others, but the pirates are kind of a thing now. I mean, they were in Mando. They were predominantly in Skeleton Crew. They've been in the animated shows. So let's give them a little more time in the spotlight.
Yeah, I could see like an animated miniseries, like 1 season, 2 season on pirates, self-contained storytelling.
Well, Nick, what if it's just a miniseries on Tak Renat? Like, let's go back there and zero in on him and his plans and his dreams of At-Aten.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a good way to handle it. I think that, like, given, like, you know, spinning off of Skeleton Crew and exploring that whole, you know, search for At-Aten, exploring the jewel planets of the High Republic would be a really cool story to follow, especially in like a 10 to 12 episode arc. You get that context filled in, and you also get to explore some more of that like shady underworld.
Yeah, you could slow build. You could slow build his dream of finding the gold, and then really the series could end on them crashing. And here we go. We've got a nice lead into Skeleton Crew, even though no one watched it. I don't know. I think space pirates are rad. They've been portrayed very well at this point, both in live action and animated. So I think you could have a lot of fun with space pirates. You wouldn't, right, Nick? You wouldn't have to follow the same rules technically. You know, you wouldn't just have to present them as these good guys that are always going to be redeemable and always doing the right thing. It'd be different to actually kind of cheer for the gray, the morally weird. It would be something unique, if anything.
Yeah, it would definitely be like a unique perspective for Star Wars storytelling, and I think that there would be value there for sure. So I'd be down for something like that. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I think it would be fun.
And here's the big one. And I honestly, Nick, I think it would almost have to be like the Clone Wars for the prequels. It would have to be deep, fleshed out, seasons to really kind of make up for some of the sins of the sequels. And that is our pitch to have a pre-TFA sequel series that is focused on Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, Padawan Ben Solo, and the First Order's rise. So we want to see the nitty-gritty. We want to see the Solo family together. We want to see Uncle Luke. We want to see Ben and Luke going around and showing people what's up. We want to see Ben worshiping his uncle, being in awe of his power. We want to see that temple that was getting built in the Book of Boba Fett or whatever random season Luke showed up in again. All right, we want to know how Han and Leia truly split and how Ben went so dark. We want to know how the First Order was able to rise even though the New Republic was scouring the galaxy for them. How was that Shadow Council able to actually execute their plans even after we supposedly took out Moff Gideon? This could give us all of that. It could redeem Luke in that era. It could flesh out one of the best characters from that era in Ben Solo. And it would give, I think, fans... I'm sorry, Nick. It would give fans, I think, what they felt they were missing from the sequel trilogy. And that's really like a poignant story about our OT characters really trying to pass the baton onto the new gen. Yeah.
I mean, of all the things that we have listed out, like when I first, this was what I wanted to talk about. Was this series. I was like, I want to talk about animation, and this is the idea that I want to talk about, because I think that this is what is the most needed in Star Wars right now. The sequel trilogy was introduced to us 10 years ago at this point. It's 2025 now. First movie came out in 2015.
It's wild.
It's wild that we have not reapproached this time period with any sort of meaning since then. And I think a series like this that is pre-TFA that does explore the rise of the dark side again in the galaxy in a meaningful way would be the thing that we really need to, I mean, you could say redeem the time period and help to stitch the sequel trilogy back together, but it's also just good storytelling about good characters that is needed for this time period. I mean, whether you like the movies or not, the story, the untold story of Ben Solo falling to the dark side and becoming Kylo Ren is a more interesting story than the story that Kylo ended up getting in the movies. Like, finding out how this child, who is the nephew of Luke Skywalker and the son of two of the galaxy's greatest heroes, falls to the dark side is an objectively interesting story if told well. Like, finding out how Luke finally was able to reestablish his Jedi Order and start training Jedi again for like 30 years after he was able to dispatch the Empire is objectively an interesting story to tell. And then just seeing these characters that we have loved for so long since the OT era, like, find out how, like, what the fuck they got into all these years after their heroic acts. I mean, like, this is ripe for storytelling. And I don't even think that this show has to involve Rey in any way.
No, this is pre-Rey.
Yeah, and like, I really do think that, like, the story being told about, like, and the thing was that I don't think was explained well enough within the storytelling for the sequel trilogy is that the First Order was a part of the New Republic government at some point. It was a part of the New Republic government that eventually was taken over by the dark and then turned against everything else. Like, sound familiar? Like, it's a very relevant story to tell at this time period. It is filled with characters that we know and love, and it is important to tell the context behind what we see in the sequel trilogy. Like, even if it is like really heavily focused on Ben Solo, like, there's still so many characters around Ben Solo that are of paramount importance to the Star Wars universe.
Well,
I feel like if this show doesn't get made, then there's somebody needs to go knock on Dave's head and be like, the fuck is wrong with you up here, bro? Like,
oh, dude, we're fleshing it out 30 years prior in the Mandoverse with like a little nugget per season, man. Right?
Yeah, it's just...
We showed you on the Shadow Council, General Hux's dad was there. That's the through line. That's all you need. No, it's like I said when I was setting this up, man. I mean, this series would be the Clone Wars of the sequel trilogy. Like, to people like us that, it took a decade or more to appreciate the prequels just based on where I was at when I watched the prequels and my expectations. I know you youngins are never going to understand it, but like how people are kind of looking at the sequel trilogy these past decades, that's exactly how people looked at the prequels, if not even a bit angrier. But through the Clone Wars and the 7 seasons of that, they were able to, as Nick said, provide more setup, provide more exposition, provide more character development, specifically with my man Anakin Skywalker. To where now, if you watch the Clone Wars, it makes all 3 of the prequel movies 10 times better. Maybe not TPM because I love it and that was pre-Clone Wars, but really after Attack of the Clones up through Sith, the Clone Wars enhances that by a factor of 1,000,000. Okay, especially for someone like me that really had a hard time processing the prequels as what I thought they should be. So this series would do the same thing for the sequels. Give it fucking 5, 6, 7 seasons. You could take it all the way up to when Kylo breaks or Ben breaks, and there we go.
You could show the scene that they showed in the movie.
Right, that's the finale because we know what happens next. Luke shuts himself off. Kylo joins Snoke. Here we go. We're a few years later. We're at TFA.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a very easy long tail story. Like the Jedi Order that Luke built was not given the justice that it deserved in the
No.
movies. Like, look, we can, like, as of right
Bro,
now,
it got a four run comic book. That's how they explained it. And the way they explained it, dude, he had Ben and 3 other fucking students.
Yeah, so what you do is you take those comics and you set them on fire, and then you tell a real story, and you show a Jedi Order that was more substantial. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be to the level that the Grand Republic was, but it'll have more than 4 kids that were in it. Like, this really needs to be like, you need to show that Luke was able to build something that was becoming a formidable part of the galaxy again.
Right, because why would Snoke, or well, not Snoke, but Palpatine, why would Palpatine care about Luke if in 30 plus years he was only able to get four new people to become Jedi?
Yeah, like you have 4 semi Jedi under your wing. Like, come on. Like, this needs to be at minimum 5 seasons. It needs to show the depth and development of something that Luke Skywalker would actually put effort into. Like, this is like, Luke Skywalker is not going to start a Jedi temple and then be like, well, I got 4 kids, so that's enough, right? Like, we're pretty good there. Like, this is his life's work. Like, it's just really weird to me that I don't know if this has been in development, if there's been like talks internally at Lucasfilm about doing something like this, but this is the biggest no-brainer of them all. Like, and the thing is now is like sentiment among the younger age group on the sequel trilogy is already positive. Like, I've seen it. I've seen the positivity around the sequel trilogy from like the generation that's younger than us. So like, they just need to accept that, like, you need to stop telling stories for people who are 50, 60, 40 years old, like older fuckers like us.
Here he goes.
And like,
get him.
And tell stories that are about the generation that's going to carry Star Wars further. Like, if you keep telling stories about shit that people don't care about, that are, in their teens and in their, like, even in their preteens and their early 20s, then you're really going to get to a point to where like the franchise is not going to have a big enough fan base to sustain itself off of.
Dude, you're right, because I mean, I don't think it was on purpose, but they essentially did the same thing with the prequel generation. They within 3 years they gave them the Clone Wars. Like, oh, here you go. This is going to supplement your favorite trilogy. We obviously don't need it with the OT because it is the best. There is nothing else without the original film, so everyone can go, pound salt on that argument. I win, you lose. But let's go. It's been over 3 years since the sequel trilogy ended, man. I mean, that's like 6 years at this point, right?
Yeah. It's like, how do you, like, even if George did it accidentally, which he more than likely did, like, he found a way to activate the generation of Star Wars
and make them
fans
even more rabid. I'd argue the Clone Wars entrenched people like B-Mad and Props even more in the prequel era.
Like Sir Dork, like Jared is a child of the prequel trilogy, and like the Clone Wars just gave that generation so much storytelling to enjoy, and that's why the sentiment on the prequels now is as high as it is because like if you just gave them 3 movies and then that was it, like, yeah, they would still like it, but like you gave them you gave them like hundreds of hours of content.
It's the most fleshed out era, right? You would argue?
Yeah, 100%. 100% is the most fleshed out era. And like, you're dropping the ball if like the creators at Lucasfilm don't realize that is what sustained that era, and that is what has brought the prequels into the standing that they are now.
Hey,
with
Nick, what's even
base.
funnier is that Disney was the one that literally had their chests out and were beating on it in 2019, like, Skywalker saga is over. Yeah. And yet in 6 years,
what did they do?
They just keep making stuff set in the original trilogy Skywalker era, and they will not even remotely touch more than 9 to 10 years past that era, because that's all the Mandoverse is taking us. Their era, the one they created, they fundamentally have ignored.
Yeah, like I just don't understand it. I mean, I 100% agree with.
So when Johnny's asking,
divided.
but do you think that's possible with Dave at the wheel? I think the answer is no, it's not. Because
yeah, no, I mean, and here's the thing, like I don't know what level of, like I don't know his involvement. Like I don't, yeah, I know his title, but I don't know how he's involved in the creative process of like choosing what shows get made and what doesn't get made. Like I don't know if he's the one who's like, somebody's already pitched this show to him and he's like, no, we're not going to make it. Like I don't know if he has that power. He should, as the chief creative officer.
Yeah, you'd think his opinion would have some significant weight.
Yeah, but I think that like he knows his comfort zone. Like Dave is very familiar with his comfort zone. It is storytelling that is either involving characters from the Clone Wars era or is in the Clone Wars era. And I don't feel like he has the confidence to be a driving creative force behind something that doesn't take place in that time period. I feel like he's able to do that with the Mandoverse because John is the driver and he is the passenger in that situation, and he's just kind of like he's empowering Jon Favreau to do what Jon Favreau does best. But I feel like with this era and with the High Republic era, he's scared. I really do feel like there's a level of fear on the Lucasfilm side of the sequel trilogy era that's preventing them from telling stories there.
Yeah, so Nick, I think it just further proves our narrative that Disney is actually way more reactionary than people give them credit for.
I definitely think that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, after seeing this play out over years at this point, like we've been doing this show for 10 years, there's definitely a reactionary like nature to Lucasfilm in terms of like how they do their like what their decision making process is.
The bros don't like it on social media. We're done. It ain't worth it. Yeah. We don't want to feel bad inside.
Yeah, and it's like if you commit to something and you're like, and that's what George did. Like for as much
love him or hate him,
he
didn't give a fuck what anyone said. It was my way, and that's it. And I'm proud of it. This is what I want. This is what we're gonna get.
Yeah, and it's like, look, man, I fucking created Star Wars, and the stories that I tell are Star Wars stories. I don't fucking care if you like them. Like, this is the story that I'm telling, and for better or for worse, like he went out there and he told the stories that he wanted to tell, and some of them were fucking stupid as hell, but that's what he told. And I feel like what's happening with Disney now is they're so afraid to see a drop in numbers or to see like, oh no, we went from 4 billion watch minutes to 2.9 billion watch minutes.
Delete
it. We don't know how to
cancel
like,
it.
Blah blah blah. And like they are so afraid to commit to something that isn't something that's already been told, that it prevents them from doing anything interesting and new. So yeah, I mean, like this right here, this series, we didn't even pitch specifics. This is super fucking broad. You can take this pitch and run this in so many different directions that we wouldn't have thought of on this podcast and still tell good stories. Like, there's no reason that this should not have already been made.
They'd go nuts. I mean, seeing Luke, Prime Leia, Prime Han, Little Spawn Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, like this should be Clone War style, 22-minute episodes, 22 to 25 episodes per season.
Yeah, that's what Divide was saying. Like, we've all forgot that, like, that's how TV used to be. I mean, the Clone Wars before season 6 is kind of the transition from George to Disney. But Nick's right. I mean, they were usually 22, 23 episodes. They'd come out weekly. You'd have your winter break or whatever. Then the season would end. It was like a year-long affair. I mean, that's how TV used to be. It was a year-long love affair with your series of choice. It's not. Yeah. And it's never going to go back to that. Everything now, I believe, even TV shows, I think, aren't 22 episodes long.
Yeah, like most of the time you're getting 12 to, like 12 is like your top end now.
Yeah, there you go. Bango's saying, Nick, let's write this fucking series and make our nest egg.
Put me in the room and I can write this series for you easily. Like, it's not even a challenge. Like the story seeds have been laid. Like all you have to do is sit there and write them. And that's the problem is like any competent writer who has worked on an animated series before can write this. Any competent writer who has written a book before can write a story treatment for this and then have somebody else write the screenplay. Like this is not a hard story to tell.
Yeah.
This is just it's scary for Disney, and that's what the problem is.
It's a shame. Yeah, Divided. Those days were good. I remember. I mean, the days of appointment TV, as lame as that sounds, were actually kind of exciting. I remember, like I was working in corporate America, so I was just a cog in a wheel. Just wake up. Hopefully, I don't kill myself today because I fucking hate this life. But there would be days like, all right, it's Tuesday or Wednesday. Lost is on tonight. Sweet. I got something to look forward to. Can't wait to see what's going to get filled in from last week. And it did. It was like a big cultural thing TV used to be. Now, as Divided in the chat saying, it's like, well, I didn't see it yet. Hold on. Don't talk about it. Or, I just binged it. I know everything. Let me vomit it on the internet and spoil it for everyone. It's just those days are gone, sadly. But I digress. Yeah. It's time for us to put this segment to bed and to move into this week's fan segment. We do it every week at the end of an episode. Multiple ways to get in. Where we kicked things off with the Ask Us Anything. Again, just follow us on our socials. You'll see the prompts. You might want to join the Discord. That's probably the easiest. But we always do the question of the week, which is going to be themed around our special topics. So this week, we were asking the fans, hey, what sort of animated Star Wars would you like to see? So let's go ahead and get that up, Nick, and you can start reading the responses. All right.
Indeed.
Ready when you are.
All right. So question was, as Matt stated, what animated Star Wars series do you want to see next? First up is our good buddy EKU Rory. And where do you think he went? To the only place that makes sense, a Jar Jar original story.
Yeah, of course. That guy.
So maybe we can turn EKU Rory into a fucking Bane fan or a Revan fan now that he's on the book train.
He's there. This is just his gimmick.
I know. So good stuff there from EKU Rory. We can always count on the Jar Jar representation there.
Tron Kill, there's nothing better than finding figures in the wild. Don't feel ashamed, buddy. Don't feel ashamed.
Next up.
Look at that. Divided. It's like we're not as dumb as people think we are, huh? We've got the pulse of the Star Wars fandom.
There we go. We got some of those in there. Next up, we got Micah McIntyre 9005 on the YouTubes. He says, we deserve to see Revan in that Clone Wars animation. If sick duels, iconic helmets, and dope-ass troopers in white are required for Star Wars animation, look no further than KOTOR.
Fair enough.
Hey, man, I'd be down for that as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, they had a lot of armored troops back then, right? I mean, didn't they have they had the goddamn, the Sith, what were they, Nick? They had helmets and lots of armor on them. They were in Galaxy of Heroes. What was he, a Sith something?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
I can't remember the name of it.
He was like a tank, essentially. But yeah. I mean, listen,
they had...
Go ahead.
They had armored troopers. You got fucking Mandalorians in that time period. You can die. You could do a whole fucking animated series about the Mandalorian Wars, bro. Easy. Revan, Malik fighting the Jedi Order, fighting against the Mandalorian warriors. Come on.
Just seems like a layup, but again, that's another one. They're like, fuck it. You remember the Game of Thrones guys wanted to make essentially a KOTOR movie, and they're like, no, just kidding. We're gonna announce it. Yeah. We're gonna pump you guys up. We're gonna give you a deal, and then we're gonna pull the rug out from under you.
Bye. Yeah, not gonna happen. So. Mando Pirates has an animated series about Din Djarin before the Mandalorian. I'd love to see him get his Mando training, and then it skips years forward to his bounty hunting career. I think it's a no-brainer of a series. I feel like it would spend too much time underground in bunkers, Mando Pirate.
Yeah, that's full on the cult, because that's who picked them up, the Death Watch cult, essentially.
Yeah, he would be, it would be, I think it would be to that, I can kind of see that how you could see it in a larger fashion, but the way that it has been explained how his training went before his time as a bounty hunter was super limited and all underground. So I don't know if that would have a large enough scope.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'll eat anything that gives me some lore, so I would take it. But yeah, I don't think there's enough meat on the bone for this one.
Yeah. Next up, Mando Mugshot says, if we can't get live action, then I would want to see the original OT crew either in between A New Hope and Empire, or Empire and Jedi. I wouldn't care anything to have a glimpse of what the sequels failed to give us. I feel like what we pitched Mando would give you that in a way better
because
fashion.
listen, they've tried to do this Mando in the comics, and the stories are kind of trash. I mean, that run for a couple years that was supposed to tell the gap between Empire and Jedi, outside of a few cool lore nuggets, it ended on a very low, sour shit note. So much that I'm done. I don't do the comics anymore. I'm like, fuck that.
And I feel like storytelling in short windows in between those films, there's not a lot that you can do there. Like I just feel like it's too limited. You have too many constraints. There's too much stuff that's stopping you from originality that's too close to you. I don't think that that's the way to go for that.
Hey, look at 2797. It's like he saw our slide deck early.
Yeah, I say you got early access. So 2797 Studio says, wrap up the whole Clone and Rex thing. How did we end up with Wolf and Gregor, and what happened to the rest?
Thank you.
I mean, geez. Who knows? Maybe we can get that.
Oh, real quick. Thrawn Kill. Thoughts on Vader going back to Watto? Nick, this is a thing this week. Apparently it's in a comic.
I saw
and
that.
it just proves my point that the comics are just getting ridiculous. I mean, listen, we all know Darth Vader's an angry dude. I don't think he had such a bone for Watto that he would waste time to go and just indiscriminately murder him. Like if anyone should have knocked him out, it should have been Anakin when he saw him again in Attack of the Clones. Because
I know that would have made more sense.
You know what I mean?
It seems weird. Like
it seems beneath Darth Vader, right? We all know he's angry, but that seems above him. You know what I mean? He's above that type of shit. If it was a Jedi, if it was Kenobi, sure, but Watto, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. But it is a weird thing that they
Trent's got to be like hours behind. Why are these guys
way
such
behind.
Dave haters? There's no hate. I mean, look, where's the hate coming from? You can't speak critically about anything anymore without it being you either fucking hate people or you're a bandwagon fanboy. Yeah, so whatever.
We don't hate Dave, but like
I just like, hey, listen, Trent, you're still listening, so we love you. We speak your name and we appreciate you.
Yeah,
there is no hate. We're just pointing stuff out that it's kind of true if you think about it.
Yeah, I just want to see Dave work outside of his comfort zone, and like that's where creativity and excellence happens, is outside of comfort zones.
Dude, so, I wish we could get drinking Bango for every show.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's got some good comments flying.
Jeez, Mark Attack 7 says something set in the Old Republic. I agree. And then Limits of Ingenuity says, imagine a family-friendly horror show set in the unknown regions around 7 to 12 ABY, where the resurgent Darth Sidious teams up with his neighbors, the Chiss, to counter the trespassing Yuuzhan Vong Risk, anti-Force Star Weirds, hostile civilizations, and other beasts. I mean, this is, this kind of angles at a story that like is kind of what Thrawn wanted, right? Like Thrawn joined the Empire in the hopes that he would come there, wipe out this rebellion, and then Palpatine would agree to turn the Imperial forces against the Grisk, or like the invading forces that were encroaching on the Chiss Empire.
This would literally be a clone body it's a very strapped to a crane giving commands, because that's what Palpatine was doing 12 ABY. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like I can see that, and like, but the I guess the problem with it is the likelihood of that happening, the team up with the Chiss, kind of flew out the window when Thrawn did, for lack of a better like way of putting it. So like that whole thing was super contingent on Thrawn, and I don't know if Palpatine has never been one to willingly team up with aliens. That was like kind of his whole platform. He was relatively anti-alien, and the fact that Thrawn was one of the only alien, like one of the only alien beings that was in an upper ranking position within the Imperial Navy, was supposed to be like, it wasn't supposed to show that Palpatine was as tolerant. It was supposed to show that Thrawn was extremely exceptional. So I feel like without Thrawn, that's a hard angle to come at. But I mean, I feel like it would be interesting. It could be interesting if they did something like that, for sure.
All right. Is that all of them?
I think that is all of them. We covered all the bases. We did it. We did it. So thank you all for your idea. Seems like there's a decent amount of, appetite out there for a new animated series. So I think that there is an opportunity for that.
I'm honestly about to just let Bango's stream of thoughts go right to the screen, because he's on a tear, man, with some good ones. Only Disney could ruin a character as good as Thrawn. Let's take the Sun Tzu of Star Wars and turn it.
I'd say.
Hey, that's why we call him TikTok Thrawn over here, people, right? We've got him in the we've got him as a special emoji. If you become a channel member, you'll get to throw some Tic Tacs at people. All right.
Yeah. All right. So we're about to move into the fan segment here.
Hey, we're glad you caught us too. There.
Well, actually, we're in the fan segment. We are now moving into the top 5 Star Wars fan hours features of the week. To get involved with this, make sure to follow us on Instagram at StarWarsTime.show and tag us in all of your Star Wars Instagram posts. Tag at StarWarsTime.show. So, to kick off the top 5 this week, we have Mr. Jedi, and Mr. Jedi is giving us an awesome shot of some. I mean, it looks like we got a bit of a mix here. We got some different stormtroopers here. You see a scout trooper. You see it looks like a flame trooper there almost, because he's got the red armor.
You're right. That's not almost. Be confident in your skills.
What's the blue? I don't know the blue one. Is the blue one clone? Is he a stormtrooper commander? No, right? Because he doesn't have that orange pauldron. I don't know what the blue guy is. But we also just have a standard Imperial officer there in the background. They're on the battlefield. They're shooting away at the enemies. I like the use of atmospheric smoke here. The lasers look good. The practical fire in the background makes this really pop as well. Just a good action shot of some stormtroopers on the battlefield.
I might have to kick Bango out of the chat. He keeps making me laugh. He'll pay $50 a month for a Thrawn emoji with Trump hair. Done, dude.
We'll make it happen.
I'll get that shit loaded tomorrow. We added a new member. I think we need 2 or 3 more to add a bunch of new emojis. So let's go. Sign up. Lowest tier, $1.99 a month. Let's add 8 new emojis. One being...
Looks like we got Trent back. Looks like we got Trent.
Good. Like I said, I'm glad Trent is sticking around. He'll maybe pick up on our vibe eventually.
Yeah. So, but yeah. All right. So good stuff there from Mr. Jedi, and good suggestion there from Bango.
I love our little fucking live stream, man. I really do. It's tiny, but it's fun every Wednesday. I always laugh.
Crazy people in this show. Oh yeah. Next up, we got Sunset Doom. Sunset Doom has been a long time Star Wars Time show tagger.
Oh yeah.
And we always love the shots we get from Sunset Doom. So what we got here, clone. Is this 3? This isn't 332nd. I know it's got an orange helmet.
No, it's just that's the clone pilot. It's just a clone pilot.
Clone pilot. There we go. Clone pilot standing right there in front of his transport vehicle. I mean, the shot itself, as all of them are from Sunset Doom, it's just super clean shot. I love the practical lighting. I love the posing. I love the use of debris in the foreground.
Holy crap.
It's just
Bango just slid us a 20. All right.
Oh my gosh. Get
Bango,
this man
take every Wednesday
drink.
off and have your drinks. We love you, bro. Thank you, my man.
There we go.
I'll get on that Thrawn emoji here maybe over the next week or so.
Free Alderaan. There we go.
I love it.
Let's go. Fucking love it. Bango's on a
It's so much fun,
right
man.
now.
I love it, dude. It's so much fun.
Great. Thank you, Bango. And thank you, Sunset Doom, for this banger of a shot. It's always good to see a Sunset Doom shot come across the IG feed. Next up in the top 5, we got Tong Wars. And Tong Wars giving us a little bit of a different feel than we usually get from him. He's actually given us the Lego mini figs And what we see here is Darth Vader and his snowtroopers on Hoth, and clearly he's upset with this one snowtrooper who did not stop the Millennium Falcon from getting out before
you know that you know what that looks like, Nick? That looks like prototype Fett, actually.
Oh yeah, it is. It is like white prototype Fett.
Hold on. Thrawn kill.
What?
Look at this. Hey, we speak your name. Thrawn kill.
Hey,
found a new regular show to
Thrawn
tune into. We appreciate you. Thank you for that super chat.
There we go. Thank you.
All right.
Good stuff. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. That is the prototype white Fett. So you can see that Vader has his hand out. So he may be about to give the prototype Fett the choke.
Yeah, it looks like some choke action's about to happen there.
Yeah, it's going down. I mean, Tong Wars, if you follow Tong Wars, you know this guy always puts out banger Lego shots. If you go to the next one, he'll show you his setup a little bit, how he achieved this look. But good stuff, as always, from Tong Wars on Instagram.
I mean, honestly, dude, every time I love minifigs, I'm just like, man, I wish I got into collecting them instead of Hot Toys. It would have been
a lot cheaper,
a lot less room being taken up, right? And a lot easier to display because these little guys don't fall over because you can put them on a pegboard.
That's right. That's right. So, hey, next up, this might be the Black Series fig that Thrawn Kill got a view of out in the wild. This is
there you go, Thrawn Kill. There's your figure right there.
And Space X Photos is giving us an awesome shot here of Vernestra Rowe from the Acolyte and the High Republic era. The use of atmosphere, the purple lighting coming in to really give this great ominous glow.
Saber work, excellent, and really they're using a smoke machine, and you can see. I mean, a good smoke machine really produces some killer thick atmosphere that if you light your scene well, will really get pick up. Kind of highlighted with the light. Yeah,
and one thing I also like that we didn't call out: the actress who played Vernestra just fucking came right after Disney, after those viewership numbers came out.
Oh, she was
like second most watched show on the Disney Plus streaming service for this year, and no season 2.
You know she's married to Leslie, right?
Skipping came at him.
Like she's Leslie's partner.
I did not know that they were.
Yeah,
married.
I'm pretty sure they're married.
That they were married. Hey, I mean, honestly, for anybody out there, especially for her to come out and be like, hey, number 2.
Good. I mean, dude, she's a human like the rest of us. If we dumped 6 or 7 months of our life into a project and we were proud of it, I would come back and be like, yo, what the fuck? So we weren't the redheaded stepchilds of Disney Plus releases in 24, were we, Kathy?
It's seems
Bob?
Like we did pretty good, but yeah. And then to close it out, so that was good stuff there. Space Ace X Photos.
It's a good looking figure too. I didn't collect
Nash.
any of the Acolyte stuff because as much as I liked the series, the only character that really I felt that I would want to honor was Khmer. And like a lot of things these days are no, we're not going to make a Khmer figure. Why would we do that? He's the coolest character in the show. He looks the coolest, but no, we're not going to make a figure. Yeah.
I don't know why. It's so weird. But the kit bashers and the customs, they custom makers.
I got mine right here from my boy Sir Dork. Forever grateful for. I love this figure. He's like one of the only Black Series that stays out and is displayed.
Very good, very good. And then to close out the top 5 for this week, we got Quick Picks Toys, and he's given us a scene recreation from Episode 1. The battle in the Tatooine Desert, the quick battle in the Tatooine Desert between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn. Good posing on both of these figures, especially the Maul figure. The Maul figure posing looks fucking great. The lean back from Qui-Gon, lightsaber effects look awesome with the trail coming off of the lightsaber on the swing from Maul. Good digirama work in the background. Overall, a really good representation of that quick clash on Tatooine between these two badass Force users.
Yeah, I think Quick Picks creates some of the most dynamic looking scenes out there. If you really go and check their account out, they kind of specialize in scene recreations from the movies, and they're spot on. I mean, a great mix of practical. You can tell there's some, digirama going there. And really, the hardest thing to do with these damn toys in this hobby, this art form, is the posing. And you can see it's perfect. I mean, that's...
Yeah,
they feel alive. They feel like they're not pieces of plastic. So I've just always noticed that about Quick Picks toys. They're very good at staging their figures.
Oh yeah, you can see it right here. So give them a follow. Give all of these artists a follow on Instagram if you're not already. Support their work. Give them likes. Give them comments. Boost their algo juice. But hey, that's the end of the top 5. That's the end of our show for this week. Thank you to everybody who showed up, came out, and interacted in the chats. But Matt, go ahead and close us out.
That's right, buddy. That was a fun one. And I kind of like the new start time. I know we're about 15 minutes past when we wanted to end, but hey, not a big deal. Still an overall shorter show than we usually do. But it was fun. Like, listen, I can't tell you all that come to the live stream every week on the Wednesday how much I appreciate hanging out with you. You guys really do kind of spice the live streams up. Bango, I got to give you an award today, and it's not just for the $20.
He was on fire. Bango.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we are shills. We know this. We take our payments from Disney to say nice things, but even though Bango paid us a 20 spot today, the dude was an all-star in the chat. Like, we need more Wednesdays of Bango tipping back some brewskis, okay? Because that was fun. You definitely made me laugh more than a few times. But all our regulars, Divided, League, Bat, Johnny, Nova, the Order, we're starting to build. The regulars are starting to build, which I love. Thrawn Kill, Star Wars Nerd becoming a channel member today, not just a subscriber. A mix of clicks. It's just, I love it. This makes me happy because I'm getting the gratification. The long forms, when I put all the hours into them and then release it and only 200 people see it, that's where I feel like crap. So thank you to you all. I'm going to clap you out there. You guys really do make doing the live stream worth the time and effort, 100%. But as Nick said, it's time to put E342. That's right, 342 episodes we've done of this show. And that's just when we fully branded into Star Wars time. I'd say Nick and I are probably well north of 1,000 at this point in time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
It's been a long journey. There's some weeks it's like, why do we do what we do? But a week like this just kind of justifies getting down with you all on a Wednesday night. And don't forget, if you're just a podcast listener, we love you too, because that's where we started. All right. We weren't streamers to begin with. We actually started doing this over the pandemic at the behest of people locked up in their houses. So it's good to be here. Lion Zion wants us to talk about stocks. Well, the tech stocks had a rough opening to this week thanks to DeepSeek. And for whatever reason, we were told that the market was going to explode once this regime came in, but it is not. It's actually going down, which is so odd. Egg prices have gone up, which is so odd. I mean, I thought they were going to come right back down to almost free. I thought gas was going to be 99 cents. All our problems will be gone by now, but sadly that hasn't happened, so we'll just have to wait and see. But right now, I probably wouldn't do too much in the stock market. I think we're going to see one of the biggest drops in recent memory. So strap in, people. It's going to be a hell of a ride these next few years. Woohoo! We don't need a government anymore, right? Let's go. All right, people. We love you. We speak your names. There's always time for Star Wars Time. Don't forget, in between now and then, to check out StarWarsTime.net. If anything, just to let people know where they can find more information about the show. They can link into the YouTube here, get subbed up. They can follow our socials on IG, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So get to it. Let's keep bringing in some noobs. The Vertical has, we casted out the Vertical Stream Net. I think we've roped in a few new people that are staying in Nerd and Thrawn Kill. So that's been well worth it. And we love these parties. All right. There's always time for Star Wars Time, people. And if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you always.